welcome to Kerry's Cards. Thanks for joining me for today's tutorial. And we're going to make a never-ending, or attempt to make a never-ending card. This is the first one I've made. And I've written down my instructions as I go, so hopefully the way I've done it will make sense. But basically it's a card that never stops opening. So quite cool really. And we're going to make one today. This is using some old scraps of paper while I was testing it to make sure that my mechanism would work. Left a space for some writing on, things like that, and done some cool stamps and some images. But what we're going to use today to make a Christmas card one is the, it's called, just have a quick look in the catalogue because I can't remember, A Walk in the Forest. It's coming in the new autumn, September to December mini catalogue from Stampin' Up. And what's really good about this is £2.50 of it will go is donated to support organisations to help those people that are in need. So I think that's a really good cause. Lovely colours. We're going to use some shaded spruce, some cherry cobbler, pecan pie and some white. But this is the one side of the, well this is, I've cut these ready from my workshop, but these are 6x12s. And some nice patterns on that side, and then obviously if you turn them over, you've got the other quite seasonal colours. So to start with, we're going to make the base mechanism. If I show you how to do this, then I can give you, you can then free to design it or decorate it how you like. I will decorate it as we go along and give you the measurements for all the cuts of pieces of card. So then hopefully it should be quite straightforward. Right, I'm just trying to see where I put my trimmer. There it is. Let's get crafting. So I'm using the Stampin' Up trimmer here, which is really good, as long as it's a new blade I've got in there today. And we need 4 pieces of 5.5 by 5.5 inches. Now I'm going to put both pieces of card through at the same time. Firstly, I'm cutting on the long side, on the short side at the top, cutting down to 5.5, and then I'm going to rotate it round and cut again at 5.5 inches. So that's 2 pieces of 5.5 by 5.5 there. And then let's get the other one here, 5.5. There we go. So there's our 2 pieces of 5.5 each. Sorry, our 4 pieces of 5.5 squared. Let's get rid of those 2 pieces left over. Then what we need to do, each of these need to be scored on all sides at 1 3/8. So I'm going to use my trimmer for this. And actually, no, I'm going to use my score pal. But if you wanted to use your trimmer, or your trimmer has a score blade on, then you'd go for 1 3/8 and score and rotate and do each corner. But for speed, I'm going to use my score pal, simply scored board. Now normally I've got a little thing there that I can pin on so I know where I'm going, but I've lost that, so now I can see it's on the floor. And the reason I'm doing that is so that when I get to 1 3/8 I can pin it. Do you see how I've done it there? So 1 2 3/8. So I know that I need to score at that point on each one. So then I quite literally just go in each one, and I find this slightly quicker than my trimmer, but the trimmer works equally as well. That's 1 3/8. Now I'm being quite harsh with this because it is card. This is going to be a moving card, so obviously because it's moving, we are going to need to burnish each one of these score lines. Okay, so that's all of those done. Let's pop that back on there. Now I'm going to burnish each of these score lines now whilst it's in 4 pieces. It'll make sense because in a minute we're going to cut down the middle of each of these, but then it means we've got to score these lines. It'll feel like we've got more scores to burnish, whereas if we do it now we've got less. Promise me, it does make sense eventually. So we're going to go around and do each score line. And we're going to do the opposite directions as well. Now you can make these cards using designer series paper or patterned paper, but just be mindful then if you are going to do it with paper, paper isn't quite as robust as the card is when it comes to burnishing them. So you need to be a little bit more genteel when we do our scoring, our burnishing, sorry, each of the fold lines. Ourselves. So we're using shaded spruce. This is one of the colours I've picked out of the pattern paper. And then I'll go back on myself. Last one. Okay, now I'm going to bring my trimmer in, and I'm going to cut each one of these in half at 2 3/4. And last one. So we've got this now 8 pieces. So the first thing we're going to do is take 2 of them and we're going to pop them side by side like that to make our square again. And we then want another 2 ready. And these 2 are going to go on at 90 degrees to the base too. I'll just pop them there. Now what we're going to do to start with is we're going to put glue in each of these corners here. I'm just checking my book that I'm doing it the right way, so my notes. And then we are going to pop these 2 on top, so we're making a bit of a sandwich. Now I always try and make sure the first one I get on is flush in the top corner. Oh, it's not very flush. The reason I like using the Tombow glue is because it can be moved if I'm not quite so straight. Ooh, more fingers and toes. Okay, just make sure that's okay. And then we'll do the bottom one. Okay, and then we get the other side and make sure it goes flush to the one we've just popped down. And then glue that there. And just hold it for a little bit while the glue settles and sets. Get the glue off my hand. Then this is where we then open the card. So we've got the card at the back, or the front card, and we need to open it up and flick back those 2 sides there. Okay, and then we're going to pop that down and we're going to re-burnish all of our score lines. Then this time we are going to put glue. We're going to come with our 2 pieces again. So these are going in, let me just check my direction. I think, because I don't want to get this wrong, because if you get it wrong then the card won't open at all, which is not ideal. So what we need to do is putting glue here, here and here, and then our card goes on that way again. So we're going to put glue here, 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 and here, and then on this one here as well, the big square in the middle. I just need to check my notes because I don't want to get this bit wrong. Yep, we need to go this way again. Top, match up the corners. Do the same for this one down here. Okay. Then we're going to lift it up. It'll automatically start opening, so we're going to open it that way. And again, so like we did the first time round, swing it so the sides go into the back. What was the sides go into the back, and lie it down flat, so it's exactly, it looks the same layout as before. And we're going to bring the cards in again, and we pop them exactly on that way. This time we're putting glue, which seems really bizarre, but we put glue on all of the sides. Every little square has some glue on now. I mean, you could use double-sided sticky tape if you wanted to have speed, but as I said, I like the Tombow glue because it just, if I haven't got it on quite right, it then enables me to sort of straighten it out a bit. So then we line them up again to the top and a bottom one. Oop. And then make sure, press it and hold it down. Okay, and then again, it should start to open up on its own. So move it back. And that is all. So it's just remembering to do that bit each time you do the card. If you find some areas are a bit sticky, what you can do is just trim, so that's touching at the back there. So what I might do is, you can see that it's got quite thick there. So what I might do is just take my scissors. It doesn't take much, but just a little bit off. Ooh. Doesn't take much at all. So I can see a bit there that's hanging over. So I'll do the same there. And then hopefully it comes to moving again. Yeah, I can feel it's catching here a little bit. So when we open these bits here, then we can see it's catching there a little bit. This is why it's really important. It's as square and as flush as you can do. But you could take off a little tiny bit just to help it. And it's because it's card that it makes it, it's quite thick in terms of the movement. So that's sitting a little bit better. There we go. So that is our never-ending card. So, get rid of those bits. So now we can decorate the card. Don't forget, you can pause this video at any time and go backwards if something doesn't make sense, so you can recheck the measurements and things like that, and the way the glue gets put on. But essentially, the first layer of glue goes in the four corners. You then open the card up and lie it down. Then you put glue in the four corners and the big squares, and then put your layers of card on the top again. You pick it up and it opens up and folds back on itself, and then the final layer is glue on all of them, and you put your pieces of card on top again. So that is a quick way of showing you how to make a never-ending cards. So you can keep tinkering with it and tidying up bits. There we are. So when it comes to decorating this one, and what I'm going to show you now, the measurements, is you need the 16 of these ones, and there are 8 of these big ones. So 2 on each big ones. So what you need is 8 lots of 2 3/4 by 2 3/4 for the designers, for the card base layer. And then for this bit here, the middle, if you want to use designer series paper or white card, you need 8 in total at 2.5 inches by 2.5 inches. And similarly on the side ones, you need 16 because there's 4 on each side and we've got 4 layers. Now on this one, I've used 4 of similar colour pattern paper, but basically you want 16 1 inch by 2.5. Let me just check that I've written that down right. 1 inch by 2.5 inches. And then your design series paper on the top is 1 3/4 by 2 1/4. I'm just going to write that down because I didn't write that in my note. 3/4 by 1 1/4, 2 1/4 inch. So should we decorate? Let's get on and decorate. Let's put that to one side. So I'm feeling festive. I don't want the blue, I want greens. I quite like the stripe that we've got there. So I'm going to bring in, I think I'm going to go reds and the festive and do it that way because that's quite nice. So I'm going to use my cherry cobbler for 8 lots of card at 2 3/4 by 2 3/4. So let's do 2 3/4, and then I'll do another strip of 2 3/4. And then join them up. Let's see, 2 3/4. 1. So it should get this out of 1 piece of red card, 2 3/4. So that's my 8 pieces of 2 3/4 by 2 3/4. And these are going to fit. Oh, it's too big. So it needs to be 2.5 by 2.5, not 2 3/4. Let's just check on this one, 2 3/4. That's 2.5. Yeah, 2.5. Yeah, 2.5 inches. So I've done them all too big. Not a problem. Let's do them in batches of 3 and just take off 1/4 inch of each side. That looks better. Let's take off 1/4 inch off each side. Okay, so that's all of the middle bits, 8 pieces, and then I'm going to stick with these for the cherry cobbler, and we're going to have 16, and I'm double checking these ones, but it's definitely 1 inch, 1 inch by 2.5 inch. So let's do 1 inch We might not get enough out of this, but let's see. 1 inch. That isn't 1 inch. Let's see how many pieces we get from this then. 2.5. We're going to get 8 again then, aren't we? 2.5. 2.5. 2.5. 2.5. So I've got 8 pieces there. So what other colour shall we do to marry up? Shall we go for the brown then with there? Let's do it then. Let's do it. 1 inch. Let's go this side. And I want 16 of these. So 1 inch. Double them up. I'm going to go 2.5. 2.5. 2.5. 2.5. So that's another 8 there because I doubled them up. Let's put that there. Let's get rid of my little bits that's there. Okay, tidy that lot away. And then we will use, which paper did you say you were going to use? Shall we use some of that one? That's quite nice. So we will have, what's on the other side? So when it comes to the designer series paper, for the middle bits there, we need that to be 2.25 by 2.25 inches. Now we're not going to do 8 of them because we're going to need some, leave some that are white for being able to write on. So I'm just going to cut 4 pieces, I think, of this colour, and maybe 4 pieces of 2.25 by 2.25. And then let's cut it round that way. 2.25 by 2.25. Those little bits I've got left, I'm going to cut those into 3/4 strips, and hopefully, oh, I'm going to do them separately because they're a bit fiddly. 3/4 of an inch. And then 3/4 of an inch. I don't like to waste. That's 3/4 of an inch. That one, I think that's slightly too big. It's 3/4 of an inch, and that was the other one. Oh, let's go upwards. If I cut upwards, then this bit stops it from moving. There we are, 3/4 of an inch. So those ones are big enough to go on those bits there. And then we just need, so we've got 4 of those, we need 16 in total. So let's do some stripes would be good. So I'm going to go for the stripy one that's here. And actually what I might do is cut one of these bears off, and that can go on one of those as well. Let's go back, let's see. Let's use this bit up here. And I'm going to make that 2.25 inches deep. And then I want 3/4 inch strips. And then 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. I'm not sure I'm going to get 8. Maybe I will. go, mate. Just, yeah, perfect. So there's 8 there, and then I need another 4. So I've got 4, 8, and then let's do Christmas trees. Let's go for the Christmas tree one. And I want the pattern that way, so I'm actually going to cut down there so that we get the long pattern on the bit. So always make sure you understand the pattern run. And then 2 1/4. 1, 2, 3, 4. So there's our 4 strips for another one. Okay, pop that over there. Whilst we're here, I'll cut some white. I want 4 pieces for the centres, don't we, to decorate. So they need to be as well 2 1/4 by 2 1/4. Oh. 2, 3. Another one. 2 1/4. That's my 4 pieces of 2 1/4. Okay, so what we'll do now is we will start putting this all together. So the first thing I'm going to do is stick my 4 white pieces on top. That wasn't quite what I meant to do. I meant to put it on the white first. And then this one. Okay, so that's the 4 white ones done. Then let's do our 4 designer series paper or pattern papers. Put them all the same colour, same way, but if you wanted to, you could easily use the other side. That's our 4 pattern pieces. Then let's pop all these together. So I should have 8 of each colour. She says. Now, to be a bit different, because I've used the same patterned paper there, I'm going to pop these onto the brown, not the red, just to make it a bit different. No other reason. That's those ones, and then I'm going to pop trees on some red. You can tell I've gone quiet, so I'm concentrating. Okay, and then my stripes, I'm going to mix and match. But you can see how these are such tiny pieces of designer series paper that if you've got some leftovers somewhere, then you could use any little big pieces of card or strips of DSP because they're so thin. Nearly finished with putting on the pieces, but then we've got to build our card. Okay, so let's build. So I'm going to pop that there, that there. Now what I might do is keep, so I could take one from each, but I think I'm going to keep all the same patterns on one layer of card. That's what I'm going to do. Now I'm going to glue these on, but you could use foam pads, but the reason I'm not using foam pads is I think it makes the project too bulky. Then the card then becomes far too bulky when it comes to bending and moving. Okay, so that's that one. And then we're going to open it up, turn it round. So that one, you could have your word in that way. If you open it up that way, you might want to then have your, let's do some stripes on this one, and we're going to pop them that way. And then I'm going to pop the white one on this side and put our other bit on this side. And then we open again. And now I'm going to use the opposites because we had stripes on the last one. So go for the patterns there. It's nice seeing it come together. This time I'm going to put the white one on the bottom, and the patterned one on the top. One thing to be mindful, this does make quite a heavy card, so if you are going to post it, you do want to check your postage costs. And then the last one, which way did we have? We had it that way. Let's do it that way then. And then we go across the top. Now, these cards do take quite a while to make, so if you are thinking of making some lots of Christmas cards, then you probably want to start now. But if you're only making 1 or 2 for special people, then perfect. Perfect for a special occasion. So that is with everything now stuck down. So when we open the card, we have all these different layers, and it just keeps going and going and going. I haven't put anything on the greetings, but you could write in a little message. You could use a stamp set to wish people happy Christmas on this one. I did say I might cut out one of the bears, didn't we? So we could pop a bear on if you wanted to match with where we've got some of the brown. Where did we put the brown one there? So we could put a nice bear on there potentially. It's up to you how you want to design it. So hopefully my instructions make sense. As I say, it gets quite busy when we're putting the layers together, the 2 green layers and the sides, and gluing it down. But if you stop, pause it and rewind, then it'll make much more sense. I will put all the measurements in the commentary below for what you need to cut out, so you can prep everything in advance before you put it all together. But I hope you've enjoyed watching, and you give it a go, because it's quite a nice therapeutic, and actually I find it quite cathartic. My children have sat there just keep going and going and going. There you go. Happy crafting. Take care. Bye.